All right, for today's explainer, we are diving into something that sounds, well, a little magical. We're talking about Inbox Alchemy.
Okay, let me ask you something. You ever check your email and see a message from a brand you've literally never heard of, and it's just sitting there, right in your main inbox? Not in spam, not even in promotions. How in the world do they do that?
Well, I can tell you one thing, it is not luck. No way. There's a whole system behind it, a science, really. It's a process for turning, a regular old email into something that just has to be seen. Some people even call it alchemy. So let's peek behind the curtain, shall we?
First things first, to really get what's going on here, you have to understand the stakes. And believe me, they are high. When you send an email, it really only has two places it can end up.
You've got the inbox, the promised land, right? This is where your message gets read, where you build trust, where things actually happen. And then you have the spam void. It's a total black hole. Your message is never seen, your reputation takes a hit, and all that work you put in, just gone. So the entire goal of this so-called alchemy is to avoid that void no matter what.
All right, so what is this system actually promising? Because the claims, they're pretty big. We're talking about a whole tactical program that says it can help anyone completely master the art of cold email.
Okay, so the first word you absolutely have to understand is deliverability. And listen, this is super important. Deliverability is not your open rate, not the same thing. Open rate is how many people open the email. Deliverability is what happens before that. It's the simple yes or no question. Did your email even make it to the main inbox? Because if it didn't, nothing else you do even matters.
And this right here, this is promise number one from the Inbox Alchemy playbook. 100% deliverability. Think about that. The claim is that if you do this right, every single email you send lands in the primary inbox. That is a massive, massive claim.
And as if 100% deliverability wasn't wild enough, here's the second promise. The people behind this system call it a crazy high 85% open rate. And their logic kind of makes sense, right? If you can guarantee your email gets seen, then you're way more likely to get this kind of insane engagement.
So you're probably asking, okay, how is any of this even possible? Well, it all starts with the technical stuff. This isn't the fun, creative writing part. This is the plumbing, the foundation, the stuff that is absolutely non-negotiable and has to be set up perfectly.
This blueprint basically boils down to 4 key steps. First, you've got to pick the right domain and mail server. Then you have to warm up your domain. Think of it like building up your credit score, but for sending emails. You're building a good reputation over time. Step 3 is probably the most important part, authentication. This is where you set up a bunch of technical records. You might have heard of them: SPF, DKIM, DMARC. The best way to think about them is like a passport for your email. They prove to the big email providers like Google and Microsoft that you're legit. And finally, you build visual trust with things like BIMI, which is what gets your cool little logo to show up next to your email in the inbox.
Okay, so once all that technical plumbing is in place, then we get to shift gears to the message itself. This is where the alchemy really comes alive, where we get into the creative stuff designed to make every email feel one of a kind and sneak past those spam filters.
The magic trick here, or at least one of them, is a technique called spin-tax. Spin-tax is basically a clever way to write a sentence that has a bunch of variations baked right into it. That way, a computer can spit out hundreds or even thousands of unique-sounding emails, all from one single template.
So check this out. Here's a super simple example of how it works. You see those curly brackets and the little vertical lines? The system can just randomly pick hello or hi or hey. Then later in the sentence, it can swap between mentioning Project X or your recent article. You can see how just by adding a few of these options, you can create a massive number of different combinations from just one master copy.
And what's the whole point of all this? It's simple, really. To make sure that no two emails leaving your outbox are ever exactly the same. That's the secret sauce. That's how you get around today's spam filters, which are smarter than ever and are specifically trained to spot and block thousands of identical messages being sent all at once.
Now, it's not just about the tech tricks. There's a whole psychological model for how you should write the email. And they call it, and you got to hear this, the hormonal copywriting model. Seriously. The idea is to hit 2 different psychological triggers. First, you use dopamine tactics, things like creating curiosity, using little cliffhangers to get the person hooked. Then you hit them with the testosterone tactics to make them act, using power words like claim or own, and making them feel like they're part of an elite group, creating that FOMO.
All right, so you've got your unbreakable technical foundation. You've got your psychologically tuned, spin-tax-loaded copy. What's next? The final piece of the puzzle is taking this whole thing and scaling it up. How do you go from sending just a few emails to, well, a lot more?
Yeah, we're not talking about sending a dozen emails here. This entire system is built to scale up, and I mean way up. We're talking from about 120 emails a day all the way to over 10,000 per day. And the trick is to do it all while keeping that perfect deliverability score. It's a complex dance of rotating inboxes and scheduling sends so you don't set off any red flags.
But the real question is, does any of this actually work in the real world? Well, according to the testimonials, the results are pretty dramatic. Take this one from Samantha Rodriguez. She says the difference is like chalk and cheese, and that the deliverability is just amazing.
Then you've got Sophia Patel, who talks about how it's changed her business. She says her clients think she's a genius now, all because she's getting near-perfect deliverability and all the good things that come with it.
And just to really hammer it home, here's Daniel Evans. He basically confirms the core promise we talked about. He says his team has virtually 0 emails going to spam, and as a result, they're seeing a huge jump in open rates and clicks.
So, all of this leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? Is this alchemy the ultimate secret to finally getting your message heard above all the noise? Or is this just the next phase in a crazy arms race for our attention? One where our inboxes are the battlefield and the weapons just keep getting more and more sophisticated? Something to think about, for sure.